Hi, welcome to You Can Change the World on how to ask questions. Asking questions is one of the most powerful tools for change makers. This is part of a series of videos on creating the fulcrum to move the world in little ways or large. Asking a question puts your issue in front of decision makers. They may ignore it or sideline it, but you can use their lack of a response to move your issue forward. But just asking a question can create change. For example, I was part of a project to make global institutions more accountable. We sent questions to 30 institutions, including the Bank of International Settlements, and very soon after, they put some of the information we wanted onto their website. The head of the BIS was also so worried about the questions that he spent 3 hours with us trying to persuade us that they were not an institution of global governance. And for many years, the One World Trust used this process to make global institutions more accountable, and they had significant influence simply by asking questions. Questions can make people in power feel threatened. So it can be dangerous to ask questions, particularly in the workplace or when you've got a whistleblowing type of issue. You need to think carefully about it beforehand. But democratic societies, it is possible to ask questions and to get answers with skill and persistence. So what question do you want to ask? A good question puts your issue in front of decision makers and can set the agenda for a campaign. So it's really worth thinking about your campaign in terms of questions rather than demands. And this approach can be used in any context, whether it's work, by raising questions in team meetings, on public issues, or you could write to your MP and ask them to raise questions with ministers. Freedom of information requests can be used to get information that isn't in the public domain. And in particular, if a prominent person is speaking in public, you could raise questions there. Use questions to understand the issue as well as what position the people you're trying to influence have. So getting current awareness, find out what the priority is for whom and who is doing what. Get more evidence on an issue and opportunities for influence. Putting your issue onto the agenda of decision makers also puts you into a position for action on the issue when they do something about it, because it gives you recognition as a player on that issue. You may get advance notice of consultations or policy documents, or even invitations to speak about it, and a chance to give feedback before policies are published or put into practice. So to summarize, asking questions is a process that starts by putting your issue on the decision maker's agenda. Once that issue is recognized, you could use questions to get them to analyze and understand the issue if necessary. Many campaigners put a lot of effort into research, hoping that it'll influence decision makers, but it's much more effective if you can get them to take ownership or even pay you to do the research. Once they have the analysis for action, they can start put it into practice. And then you can use questions to check how they're doing it and push them into doing it effectively. And then finally, once it's being implemented, ask what impact it has, and also ask questions about what you can learn from the campaign. Many successful campaigns get funded by the decision makers they target, such as Anti-Racist Training, the Ethical Trading Initiative, Living Wage Foundation, and many others. Asking questions is a process of moving more deeply into an issue. It often means developing relationships with the people you want to influence, getting to know them, both the decision makers and other campaigners, building trust, dialogue around the issue, and above all, getting intelligence, that you're getting to know who's involved, what their position is, how they are likely to respond. The next layer is what I call innocent inquiry. And again, it's about getting evidence, raising awareness of the issue with decision makers, seeking allies among the decision makers, because there might be people who support your cause. And above all, getting intelligence about the political situation, where people can stand on it and how they're likely to respond. The third layer is the investigation. It's about building a case, probing more deeply. And this is a layer that can be done with the decision makers or officials on their side or other agencies involved in them. So you're not necessarily doing this from outside, but you're working inside to create alliances within power structures to influence decisions. And again, you're continuing to get intelligence about the issue. The fourth stage is the inquest. It's the kind of thing that might be set up by a government body to get at the truth about an issue, to make a judgment and to seek a verdict. The fifth stage or layer is about interrogation, where people are grilling to get at the truth and expose an issue and to impress supporters. It's the kind of thing that's done by committees of inquiry by Parliament. And the sixth stage is the inquisition, of challenging, of putting extreme pressure on people and ultimately aiming to defeat them. It's not a stage or process I recommend for campaigners. But these 6 levels of questioning, if you move from the extreme pressure, it's one where people have got a lot of power, to the one where it doesn't involve a great deal of hard power. And in fact, most campaigners are moving through the initial encounter to inquiry, investigation, to build trust. And the more trust you have, the more likely is that people in power can really interrogate an issue to get at the truth of it. The art of asking questions is about getting powerful people to do something which they probably wouldn't do unless they were prompted or pushed. So it takes skill, and the more skillful you are, the more likely you will get a result. And the first stage is really about understanding your target. You want to understand who else they have to interact with in reaching a decision. And you really want to get to know them particular. So what do they want? What are their aspirations? What do they fear? What keeps them awake at night? What can they give? Is there something that they can give you, a very small thing that can help build a relationship and move you towards influencing them to achieve your goal? Second, I suggest you ask for something that they can give, because actually politicians and powerful people like to show that they can give and they can be generous and have patronage. And you could ask them for information. You could get an invitation from them to take part in a consultation or conference or meeting. Or you can invite them to a meeting to launch an event or project or document. You can also ask them for an introduction, for example, to somebody more powerful who can give you more towards your objective. You can also ask them for an initiative, but always think about something which they can give and it's difficult for them to refuse. And this way you can get a quick win. You could build trust and build a relationship with them and create small steps towards your goal. So to recap, questions are powerful. They're probably the most powerful tool in a campaigner's kit. You could use them to set the agenda, to get analysis of the issues that you want to influence, and to lead to action. Each stage involves different types of questions. And you can use the different layers of questioning to build influential relationships to get the change that you want. And to create quick wins. So for your next step, I suggest you get a buddy or coach or mentor to work with on developing your questions and your campaign. Learn how to campaign and begin by practice asking questions and looking out for campaign trainers like the Sheila McKechnie Foundation, the Good Lobby, and the Campaign Boot Camp, which runs longer campaign courses. And I also run campaign coaching and workshops. And watch out for step number 3. And if you're a student or a teacher, you could put practical politics into your courses. Look out for my book, which will show you how to do that. And the next video is on working with a buddy, which will help you build your fulcrum, to create your vision and knowledge and more to move the world and bring about the change that you want. Go well. These videos aim to help you take your issue from where you are now on a journey towards the world as you would like to see it. So stick with me and we'll go through it step by step.